All right. Our guest today is my amazing friend and source of inspiration when things get tough, my kids coach and my coach, Mr. Ron Gialdo. I met Coach Ron 4 years ago when we lived in New York City, and my oldest son, Max, was longing to be on a track team. And just a little backstory for those who are not in New York. In New York City, this isn't as simple as just signing up for your middle school or your high school team and just showing up with your sneakers on. Someone tosses you a uniform and you're running at the track behind school every day after last class. New York City has over 1,100 middle and high schools serving over 1 million kids. Most have no athletic programs, let alone the real estate to house any track and field facilities. So in most cases, you're left to outsource to various club teams. And also in most places, they're not anywhere remotely near to where your child even goes to school. You're left with a logistical nightmare and a massive time commitment to get your kid to school to practice, involving trains and buses and back home again afterward, just in time to do homework and, in our case, then practice your instrument for symphony. It's a circus. You see the kind of dedication a kid has to have to make this all happen every single day. So when you have a kid who's dying to be part of a track team, who wants more than anything to run and be challenged, you don't let up until you find it. And then you pray you found the right fit. After lots of Google searching and some asking around, we found the Chelsea Greyhounds, and Max's life changed forever. He'd tell you this too. Coach Ron and his incredible wife, Chris, founded the Chelsea Greyhounds in 2009 with a small but mighty team of 3 runners. Ron and Chris have 4 beautiful boys. And when I say beautiful, I mean they're absolutely gorgeous, but I also mean hearts of gold and probably the best huggers on the planet. I love their children. Ron has a show up and work ethic unlike anything I've ever witnessed, and it's infectious. It's tangible. The athletes he tirelessly coaches are as committed to their team as Ron is to them. It's a beautiful machine he's engineered, and no other team can come close, because it's Ron's head and his heart that make this team one of a kind. You can't duplicate it. Ron and the Greyhounds are unboxable. Coach, thank you for coming on the show today.
Hey, Lindsay. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for you and your new adventure.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to, say some words.
I can't wait to hear your words. I want everybody else to hear your words. Okay, so before we get started, my first question, and I ask everybody this, what's the most inspiring or encouraging thing you've ever heard, read, experienced?
It's what the good that humanity does to the world. And to themselves. And just basically to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the times that some athletes run in either the sprints or the distance races, it's incredible. That shows you and it all has to do with discipline and hard work, and courage, basically. And when you see, the other day we were looking on YouTube at an Austrian, a guy who skateboarded down the Austrian Alps. Very steep, very windy, like on a skateboard.
Oh my.
While traffic was coming in the other direction. And the way he played it was amazing to me. And the weightlifting. And, people who do very good in financial, who helps really to improve people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
The techniques that they use and the artistic abilities that they use to try to truly help in what they're doing. That's what really gives me inspiration. I see all these different things. I forget this guy's name on YouTube, but the guy who does the dog training,
mm-hmm.
He helps people that doesn't understand how to properly train your dog, and people just go out there and just buy a dog and just have them in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes aggressive dogs and it's put them to detrimental situations.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy on YouTube, Cesar, I can't remember the rest of his name, but he goes to people and he's on that level. It's just to see it takes incredible courage and incredible dedication
Mm-hmm.
to get to that level.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people have done it, and so many people will continue to do it.
That's got to feel good at the end of the day, especially when things feel kind of crappy sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love what you said,
You
the
know,
humanity, really, though. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on.
yeah. And we just can't look at the bad ones,
100%. Totally. Well, I'm
Yeah.
so glad you're here, and thank you for supporting my new venture. Super excited that you wanted to join
I'm
me.
very happy to do that.
I've told,
I'm very happy to do that.
thank you, Coach. I've told the last few guests, and I'm going to tell you too, when I was creating my interview wish list, you were one of the first few people that I knew had to be on here if you would grace me with your presence. Just a wealth of good news and inspiration. So I'm really so thankful that you agreed to come on. And you and Coach Ben and Chris forever changed Max's life. I'm not exaggerating. And had we not moved, I know that Magnus would have been a greyhound for life also. But aside from our family specifically, I know many other families feel the same way about you and the impact that you've made on their kids' lives also. So I want to make sure the whole world knows about you and the greyhounds. So I feel like we should start back in the beginning. You were born in Trinidad and you moved to NYC in 1975 during quite possibly one of the worst economic times of New York City. So take me back. Why did you leave Trinidad? Why NYC? What's day one look like for you?
Well, I mean, it was in countries like Trinidad, and other countries, people, a certain amount of people in those countries, percentage, they want better.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the countries might not have enough when it comes to Trinidad had pretty good education,
Mm-hmm.
But I guess financially, as it comes to financially, and there were a lot of people who left Trinidad who moved to the United States and did really great. And several of them. And, and once that becomes the news of Trinidad,
Mm-hmm.
then, everyone in Trinidad is going to want to go. I mean, there's so many opportunities. And there's so many people from Trinidad who come to Trinidad and use all their knowledge and all their like, greatness
Mm-hmm.
and use it to make, money, financial, and then they go back to Trinidad and bring it back to Trinidad, and try to uplift their country in Trinidad. And I mean, that was it. I mean, everyone, when I was young in Trinidad, I can remember, I mean, the United States was a big deal.
Wow.
I mean, it was a big deal. And anyone who can come to the United States, whether hype or not, everyone acknowledged that coming to the United States would change your life.
Wow.
Just like every other country, just like why everyone else comes
Yeah.
here. I mean, that's basically the reason why we come here,
So did you have family here? Like, how did you pick New York and what did you do when you got here?
We didn't have any family. I mean, I guess my parents might have known friends
Okay.
that came to the United States. And I think, one of my parents was arrested in Canada trying to get here.
Oh, really?
I think 48 hours.
Oh, you're kidding.
I mean, when I'm like I'm 5 years old, and I've been taught a lot of things, but a lot of very, very, very important things that I was taught was coming to the United States.
Okay.
To, try to create, because the United States had so much opportunity. And Trinidad didn't have as much opportunity as the United States. So, I mean, yeah, you play that. So, I don't know, let's say you got 70% chance of making it in the United States and 40 to 30% chance of making it in Trinidad.
Uh-huh.
So
the choice was,
you have to weigh that. That was what sort of kind of how you have to look at it.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents looked at it like that. So
wow. So
and America is a great place. Great place. A lot of different people here. A lot of different ideas,
And so you were 5 years old when you got here?
I was 5 years old.
Wow.
And I was on a plane. It was the first time I've ever seen snow when I was coming in. When we, I can't remember the point that I was throwing up on the plane.
I know you're not a great flyer. Still. using the bag. At least that doesn't happen. No. Hey, you made it.
I made it. And it was still very exciting. I would have to say.
Yeah.
The word that I would think about is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a home. My father, created a home here before we came. So we came and we went straight from the airport to a home in the Bronx.
Oh, wow. And that's where they...
with a backyard and a front yard.
Oh, my gosh.
And
you had a whole new world in front of you.
Yeah.
Do you remember feeling inspired that young? Because New York City is an inspired... I moved to New York City. I didn't know anybody in New York City. So you show up and it's...
I mean, at age five, I didn't know what the word inspired meant.
Yeah, that's true. You're like, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah. But thinking about how I felt back then, remembering the whole thing and how I felt back then, it was like a privilege to come to the United States.
Wow.
That's the way I felt in Trinidad, getting ready to leave. That not to knock on anyone else, but myself personally, I felt like, oh, this is a privilege to go to the United States.
Wow. And make it in New York City.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people. I mean, not a lot of people. If you can make it here, right?
I didn't think they knew that before they came here.
Right? Oh my. So I know Coach Ron because he was my son's track coach, but I have found out over the years so much more than what meets the eye. You have this whole other side to you with flowers and design. And for anyone who knows me, I'm obsessed with floral design and statement centerpieces, etc. I have to share this quick story. So actually, Josh and I got married again in Mexico in 2019. Ron made my bouquet. I believe it was officially deemed the bouquet that warranted its own Instagram, wasn't it? And I have to tell you, walking the floral district with Ron, it's like the Queen's procession. Everyone knows Ron. Ron knows everyone. The delivery people sitting in the cars waiting to go at the next flight, they roll down their windows, exchange conversations with Ron. Like, you've never seen anything like it. I'm standing there like, where are all these people coming from? The sea just parts for you down there. So, and you started working from the bottom rung up in the floral industry. I believe you said you were 14.
Yeah, well, I was 15 years
15, old. And you roll up your sleeves and you work.
Yeah. I remember you saying to me when we took our walk through the flower market that you're the mayor of the flower market.
That's what I said. I did. You were the mayor.
You said I was the mayor.
This was Ron's house down here. I'm just a guest. This is Ron's world. I'm just walking through. How did you land on floral? Like, how did you land on that?
Well, it's very funny because I ran for DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx. Mm-hmm. And I made some friends there that was on the track team. And there was this guy, his name was, his name now is Jam Shaqui. And he said to me, oh, you want to work in the flower market? And this was about 1985.
Okay.
I was a sophomore in high school. And he knew someone, I think a family member of his, either I think it's his father or some family member of his who was making deliveries in the flower market.
Okay.
And then he went and asked, then I guess they knew that the flower market needed help. I mean, the flower market, they open up at 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. So on the weekends, they wanted to give, then that's every day except for Saturday and Sunday. I think Saturday they open up at 5. and it's a rough job, you know. I mean, you think flowers and everyone thinks something soft, but you know, you can boxes and boxes. They're heavy. You know, you need the water. I mean, the
Heavy
place
and delicate at the
barely
same
has a
time.
floor. Yeah, the place barely has a floor. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, they needed help," and asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, "Yeah." And I was meeting him like in the Bronx at like 169th Street at like midnight. And some of the days when we first started, I was sleeping at his
Oh my
house
gosh.
until we had to get on the bus to get to the train at like Third Avenue. The bus to the train at Third Avenue, and then get on the train and go down to the flower market and get there by like 3 a.m. in the morning. And we'd work from 3 a.m. to sometimes, I mean, the early days would be
Oh
1
my God.
p.m. and the late days would be 3
Oh
p.m.
my.
And we saw a lot of 3 p.m. days in the flower market.
That's nuts. You really wanted to be
You
there.
know, and yeah, I mean, well, at the first it began as a job, and then when you started to see the flowers come in, like me personally, when I started to see the flowers come in, we opened the boxes, and the color and the texture and the shapes were undeniable to me.
I love that.
And the fragrance was undeniable to me. And you know, I continued to work, and I mean, I remember like, you know, I was young. I mean, I was 15 years old, but I think by the time I became like about 16, 17 years old, and I was always dancing in the back. We were playing the music, and I was always
Of
dancing
course. What
in
else
the
are you going to
back.
do back there?
I worked hard. I started dancing in the back, and I have to say, like one day, someone came into the market, and they didn't really like me because you know they didn't really like me, and he said something that was like, you know, very disrespectful and very racial that I overheard him saying.
Ugh.
And I was like, I don't know, that kind of like that woke me up, you know. So what I did was I took home the list of everything that came in, because they made a list to everyone of all the product that came
Mm-hmm.
in and the prices that they would be selling them at. And I wasn't a salesman, so I never got it. So one day I just took it and I looked at it and I studied it, and I just studied the roses, because the roses at that time was thousands of roses. It was thousands of different kinds of
Oh
roses,
my.
like different kinds of reds even. You're talking about like red that almost goes into pink, that red that goes into almost burgundy. And there was a name for each one of them.
Fascinating.
And I went home and I studied all the names. And I came back and I knew all the names. So all the clients that came into it that would ask me before, it was like, "Oh, go to so
Sure,
and
sure.
so."
No, you had ownership now.
Right? And they'll tell you. But now I just told them what the name was.
I love it. You took matters into your own
And they
hands.
all were like, "Yeah." And I just kept doing it. And it just kept working and working. I saw what it did. I mean, and even still, I learned all the names of the flowers, but even still, I was a little laxed on the orders.
Okay.
I got too laxed on the orders, and I remember one time I did not order something that a client wanted, and she wanted thousands of it.
Oh my.
And I just thought, and I was very laxed on it, and I couldn't, and I ordered it late, and then she couldn't get all the products that she can get. And so I had to get in the market extremely early and get all the product. I think it was a yellow tulip.
Oh my gosh.
And to get all of the yellow tulips, can't remember the number, but it was a huge number. Like maybe, I don't know, 2,200.
What is she doing with 2,200 yellow tulips?
I mean, she was a huge designer.
Wow.
And she did huge events. So you're talking about tulips everywhere, tulips on the tables, tulips on the walls.
Oh, I want to be there.
On the mantle, tulips in the bouquet, you know, tulips everywhere. And she went into me. She really went into me. And I had to look at myself and say that, you know, you were wrong. And I changed that, and it never happened again. Never happened again.
Wow. You made a
But I love the flower industry, you know. I mean, I've been to Saudi Arabia twice
Oh my gosh. What was that
to do
for?
flowers, you know. That was for uh one was a granddaughter of I guess this guy was second in command at the
Oh
time,
my gosh.
or third, second or third. He's a prince in Saudi Arabia, and it was a huge event,
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize you'd gone
huge.
twice.
And we did the flowers, and I think the flowers went up to almost $900,000.
Oh my word. How long did you have to prepare for this event? Like, I mean,
2 weeks.
you were there. Okay.
I
Wow.
remember sitting with a group of them on the runway that they weren't using, waiting for the plane to come in, and
Jeez.
sitting on them and drinking like sour milk
Oh.
and eating some meat. Their milk is like a sour
Oh.
flavor.
Wow.
It's sour, you know, but it went good with meat.
I love that. I'm going to have to remember that next time I have one go past the expiration.
Yeah, and a lot of them were educated in the United States.
You what?
I mean, one of them, the main guy that was there was educated in the United States.
Wow.
The top guy who was taking me to the airport, and I went and saw all the product coming off the plane.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And I would sit there with him, and we watched all the product come off the plane. And it took 2 18-wheelers. And before the entire staff came, I unloaded those trucks.
Oh my goodness. What a huge undertaking, like a massive operation.
Oh, it was massive. It was massive.
Okay. I guess I want to go back a little bit. Okay, so we're kind of going in a circle here, but when you were a child, right? Okay, go back with me for a minute. Who most impacted you? Did anyone specifically inspire you to start coaching? I mean, you walked us through how you got your job and you got your start in the floral industry. I guess I'm curious, how did you get involved in coaching? You know, like when did you know you wanted to become a coach? Why did you want to become a coach?
Well, I never wanted to become a coach.
Okay.
I mean, Zuma was running for his middle school, and I didn't really think anything of it.
Okay.
And he came to me one day. No, not in middle school. None of in middle school. He was in I think he was in third grade.
Oh.
It was like third grade. And the gym teacher got into these meets that the public schools are running at that age group around that time, and they were running at Mary Bertram track. And there was a track meet, and he came to me one day and said, "Oh, he's running a track meet, because he was fast." So the gym teacher, of course, got him into it, and I went and watched the track meet, and I was like, "Wow, this is serious." I didn't think it was serious, and I said to Zuma, I said, my son, and I said, if you want to do this, I can train you.
Awesome.
If you want to do this.
Yes.
And he said, yes, he wanted to do this.
Oh.
And I started to train him. And as I started training him, my youngest son wanted to do it. So I started training the both of them at Chelsea Park on like 28th Street in Manhattan, 28th Street between like 9th and 10th Avenue. They have a small, like 292 meter track there. And we started training there. Amazing. And as we were training there, people were walking by with their kid and was asking me, "Oh, can my kid join? Oh, wow. And that's how it started. And I didn't turn anyone down. And I still don't turn anyone down.
That's so organic how that started. I didn't realize. I mean, the people came to you.
It started like that. Yeah, it started like that. And then the team just started to grow.
One of the beautiful things about the Chelsea Greyhounds is the age span of the athletes. I think about some of the kids in particular who were like 8 when they started running with you. And I was just thinking, it must be an honor on some level to witness an athlete's entire evolution. Like in many cases, these kids, you've had a lot of kids end up running at college, often on scholarships. So what's it like when the athlete you've coached for 2, 5, 10 years, signs that dotted line to go run for a college when they've been recruited?
Well, I mean, it's the greatest thing. I mean, when we first started this team, it was about that. That was one of the mission statements that we had, was to get kids to college with college scholarships, help out mom and dad with paying with college, and you give the kids an opportunity to work for that.
I love it.
And take responsibility. Take some responsibility. Doing that.
Especially when they come to you in many cases at such an early age, right? Like, you are instilling this from the beginning. They're working and striving towards this from the beginning.
I mean, it is great. It's great for me because that is it. That's what I want to do. I mean, that's what I've always wanted to do.
I love that.
I mean, I feel like I've always had this, like, I've always respected the hero. I've always wanted to become a hero myself. And I still do. I still think about it a lot. And it brings tears to my eyes, the courage that it takes to make amazing choices. And I mean, that's what I mean, you look, I know track and field. My whole family has run track and field. I know track and field very well. And if children and parents come to me and ask me, oh, can you help my child? Yes, I can. Yes, I can, because that is who I am. And that's what I've always wanted to be. And that's what I want to continue to be. I want to continue to be someone who can help the progress of people, whether it's children, adults. Look, I mean, I will share my experience with you.
I love that. And you are a coach in so many ways. Like you just said, it's about, responsibility, and it's about choices, right? So you're a coach to your athletes, but you're also a mentor. And you've got kids dealing with parental outside influences and pressures, kids trying to strike a balance between active and running lifestyle and academic performance. You've got to motivate them to work hard, be the best athlete they can be, while also instilling these values as a way of everyday life in order to make those positive choices. Like you said, choosing positive relationships, creating healthy habits, right? Like, that's a tall order. What drives you to push these kids to be their best on the team and in life? Like, what drives you?
Well, I would say, as an adult, we make a lot of mistakes.
Amen.
And the mistakes are excellent for us. The mistakes are a way of us trying to give it to our kids and the youth of, I know with road you're going down.
Right.
I see that guy you're hanging out with, or that girl you're hanging out with, and that's not the right one for you. And a lot of them, it's very easy to see that in sports.
Right.
Because if you don't work hard, you'll see it on the track, or you'll see it on the football field, or the soccer field, or whatever. And I mean, like I said, I mean, this is the ultimate reason. This is the reason why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to help people who need my help. You come to me and we work together, and we're going to work together to do the best that we can do for you or your kid or your athlete. That is it.
Well, and I've noticed a common theme here on the Good News Is podcast so far, like in these first few episodes. Some of our most influential leaders, and like you said, our heroes, they're very honest and vulnerable about being human. I always like to say, I'm perfectly imperfect, and when life gets wild sometimes, or we're in a tough spot, how just showing up and even starting small seems to be the key differentiators in staying the course to keep your head in the game. So, you're motivating. How do you motivate kids when you don't feel so motivated? I mean, you're a human, you're the hero, but how do you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, I mean, look, number one, I look at it as a job.
Right.
So I have to go to my job no matter how I feel and do the best that I can.
I love that you said that.
For what and then second is like, it is, it's like, no matter how I feel, when I get to practice, I have a plan,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
of what we're going to do. And when I see the kids and the kids say, hi, coach, and the other kid says, hi, coach, and then the parent is like, hey, coach, everything is gone.
That's amazing. Yeah. Like you're,
Everything is gone. And now it's time to train. And now it's time to help the kids to be better.
I love
And
that.
that's it.
I love that. Max always reminds me, Mom, coach started out boxing, actually. Max loves to talk about.
Well, I didn't start out boxing.
Okay,
I didn't.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to talk.
No, I didn't.
You do box, though.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Max actually started boxing because of you, but you can take that up with Max. So Max just turned 18, and for his birthday, I bought him that Muhammad Ali training underwater poster, like in some hotel in Miami in 1961. Anyway, Max.
Yeah, legendary.
He
legendary.
loves that. I also think it makes him think of you. So walk us to boxing. How you get involved in that?
Well, I was, after track and field, I took a lot of time off. I mean, I didn't do anything. I mean, I played football and and I tried to stay active. And then, I started working, and then I had the girlfriend, and we wanted to, get the apartment together and the whole thing, of life and stuff like that. So
Sure.
a lot of things took up a lot of my time. And I remember, and then I got heavy.
Okay. Heavy.
Right? And so there was a guy that I knew that did the Muay Thai.
Oh, okay.
The Muay Thai kickboxing. He did that. And he trained it. And I was walking in Manhattan one day, and he drove past and saw me and said, hey, Ron, hey, how you doing? And he was like, oh, what's up? And, and then he told me what he was doing was, he was doing the Muay Thai. And he explained it to me what it was. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to
Sure.
do. I already did track, whatever. I'm done. I'm not doing track.
I'm moving on
anymore. I fought as a youth. I've always fought as a youth.
Okay.
I was always a little tough guy when I was young. And I said, okay, let me see what this is about.
Totally.
Right? And I started going. And oh my God, I loved it. And what happened was this guy didn't stay with the program for long.
Okay.
And we had a Muay Thai coach and we had a boxing coach that was there. And so I decided to go with the boxing coach.
Okay.
And then I started training with a boxing coach. And we started really training, and I really started to love it. And then I started taking sparring in the gym. And the gym was really good. I mean, I sparred in Gleason's. I sparred at the Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, wow.
I sparred at Kingsway. I sparred at a lot of places, and I was starting as amateur. But the thing is, I was old, and all I could have done was amateur.
Okay.
At the time. But I really loved it. And I had many fights.
I bet you did. That's got to be a good workout.
Yeah. It was a good workout. I mean, it's, the thing with the boxing, right, is like, I remember my first fight, I was terrified. I had everything set up in the morning before I got up. That night before the fight, I put my gloves, I put my mouthpiece, I put...
Lay it all out.
All my protective gear. It was all laid out. I took my shower at night, and then I got up in the morning, and I was like, oh, I had my wraps, I had everything. And I was, and I remember telling a trainer the way that I felt, I was like, I felt fear, and he said to me, when you feel fear, if you don't feel fear, I wouldn't fight. This was his words to me. That feeling fear is getting your body ready to react to what you have to do.
I love that.
You know what you're doing, and that's where the fear comes in. And you have to decide what you're going to do with that fear. I mean, the fear, I've always told the kids this from very young, like the fear can take you to jump. The fear can make you jump over the mountain, or go under the mountain.
Right? There's only so many options.
And it is a very powerful thing.
Yes.
And it can't take you under the mountain, but it can take you also over the mountain if you use it properly.
I love that so much. What do you think are some misconceptions your athletes or their parents may have about you?
Well, I don't smile that much.
Sorry.
And I'm a big guy. And the way I look, sort of makes people uncomfortable at the beginning, I mean, because this is kind of like, what people are sort of taught, and then sometimes most of the parents come to me at the track meets, and I really can't talk to them at the time. I mean, I'm very focused
Right.
when I get to the track meets, and then sometimes they're a little, ignorant with why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
On certain things, because one thing does not fit for us all.
Right.
It just does not. It just doesn't.
Right.
Some things it works for some people, and other things don't. And I never made this team like that.
Exactly.
I mean, I speak to my two coaches, my club coach, which is a speedy coach, John Alston, and my high school coach, Bill Wagner. I speak to them because they're both great coaches, and I speak to them, and we speak a lot about things, but I do not follow exactly what they do. I just use them for myself, for my own well-being, for what I think, and how I see things, and what I have seen, like what I have seen and what I have done, and then listening to the elders, the people who have the experience.
Totally.
And knowing that, okay, yeah, they were right.
Yeah. It's so smart, though. You talk about surrounding yourself with the smartest people in the room, right? I mean, it's really, I think, it's a good move to be looking for the people to look for their advice whom you really admire and respect.
Yeah.
So
you have to do that.
We talk a lot about the importance of belonging to a group or to a team in family and sports and work. And one thing that I know that's always been extremely important to you, and I would say probably one of your non-negotiables, is the need for understanding and the need for empathy. Why do you think this is so important as a collective mentality for a team? Like, there's a massive correlation between, being on a team and living life as a team player. I think so.
Well, I think it's really I think it's human nature. I think it's definitely a part of being human nature. And I mean, at this point, a lot of I don't know from how long it's been, but a lot of people are thinking about being individual. It just doesn't work like that. That's not human nature, being individual. I mean, none of us has gotten anywhere without the help of others.
Exactly.
I mean, and even if you're like, even if you think, look, the team basically, when you have a runner on a team that's not a very good runner, which lots of teams have, okay, for whatever reason, parents are forcing them, they don't want to do it, the work is hard, they're scared of pain, and all these different types of things. And we know who each other are when we're on that team. And when we get to the meet, and that person that shows you at practice that they were like afraid or whatever, that lifts themselves up and runs a race and coming to the end, and they're fighting with 2 or 3 other athletes, and they happen to dip them out of the line. They run to dip them out, like the last 200 meters, the last 100 meters. I don't care what time that person runs. You have to respect that. You have to respect everyone for what level that they're on. You have to respect that. And a team definitely does that. I mean, when we go to the meets, a lot of times when we're at the meets, we see like these heavy kids that come and run the 100 or come and run the 200 or come and run the 400. And like I would say, like in the 100 meters itself, you see some heavy kids in the 100 meter, male and female. And when we see that arm pumping like aggressively, like they just do not want to get up. They're in last place and they are pumping and their feet is moving with speed and they are pushing and they are trying the best that they can do
Mm-hmm.
to the line. And everyone in the stadium notices that. And when that happens, we're all
100%.
everyone,
On your feet.
everyone. Doesn't matter. It's not about the time. It's about the attitude,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about not backing off, no matter what. No matter what place you're in, no matter what time you're running, no matter what. I'm here to run, and I'm going to run to the best of my abilities.
Until a sweet, sweet victory.
That's right. That's right. And we cheer them on every single time.
I love it. I've been at those races and you feel like you just won watching this, right? I mean, you can feel it. Yeah. And you know that athlete is like, what the heck did I just do? You know, and it's like, or kids where it's their first race, right? They don't know what to expect. And, you know, they want to throw up all over the place. They finish.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels so good at watching them finish.
Yeah. It's really great. I mean, you know, really great for the kids.
Totally. Well, I have a little surprise for you. Max was super disappointed that he wasn't going to be able to sit in on our conversation today because college. So we'll let it slide. So I asked him to give me his favorite Coach Ron anecdote, and I'm going to read you what he said. Ron's ability to speed walk faster than any race walker out there is astounding, otherworldly. You'd be talking to him and then turn around and then turn back to say something else, and he's gone. He's at the other end of the track. Coach knows exactly where to be at any given moment and what every person on the team needs to hear. He always knew words and phrases that would get people moving. In order to meet us where he knew we would need him, he could cover the course of a cross-country race in perfect timing, never missing any of us. And I asked Max to describe you in 3 words, and he replied, hardworking, caring, and experienced. That's our Coach Ron. And I can attest to hearing that voice of encouragement exactly when I needed to. I hear your famous kick, kick, kick. I'm moving. I'm hauling. I could be the end of a hard workout, and all I hear in my head is kick, kick, kick. And I'm literally kicking, able to get out every last bit of energy. So you've got me wired too, Coach. Nicely done. Okay.
Well, I mean, being in the right place is just experience, you know. I wasn't always at the right place, you know, but it takes experience. You know where you need to push them in the race, you know. And say to me again, what was the second part?
Which part? That Max said?
Besides being.
Max, he just that you're a really fast race walker or speed walker, right. But just like I've seen you too, like I'll be watching the course and I'm like, how did he just get over there? Like he was just over here. But to Max's point was you knew exactly where on each course every unique athlete was going to need you. And that's so remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's an experience and I just know the course and I just know where you're going to feel the pain, you know.
And you're fast.
A lot of times running the course myself.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
when I was young, I never wanted to run that course, but you know, I mean, the kids are very tough, and you know, the kids have a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to do this, and I think a lot of people don't realize what it is. You know, it takes a lot of courage. The kids have a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to go out there and run.
It's the discipline, it's the commitment. And look, it's New York City, not warm a lot of the time. I mean, it's like you have to shovel the track sometimes just to get a practice in because it snowed on you.
Yeah, we just shoveled it.
Oh, did you?
We just shoveled the track last week.
I figured I had you pinned out there doing that.
Yeah, we shoveled it.
So this is my favorite part of the
because
show.
we have to train.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And the thing is, these things make you they make you tough. Running outside is going to make you tougher than someone who's running inside. And you need that mental. That mental is a huge thing. It's not just about the legs.
Right.
The mental is huge. Huge.
The mental part's probably the hardest one to overcome.
Yeah. And I mean, an athlete that is not as good as another athlete will always beat the other athlete. If there are times of kind of close, that athlete is going to be very difficult to beat someone who's mentally tough, who wants to win.
We've seen that. It's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have 10 fast questions to ask you. You can answer them short and sweet. You can just, whatever comes to you, you can take a second. All right.
Okay.
What smell do you love?
Roses.
What smell do you hate?
Shit.
What's your favorite feature of yourself?
I don't know. I would say everything.
What's your least?
I don't know how,
What's your least favorite feature?
My least favorite? Right now, my legs.
Where would you like to live?
A place that's free.
What you appreciate most in your friends?
Being real.
What is your main fault?
I would say not enough discipline.
What shape is the sky?
I would say round.
What's your biggest fear?
Curved.
Curved? Okay. What's your biggest fear?
Not having the courage to do what needs to be done.
What word keeps you going?
Courage.
Coach, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. So good.
Thank you for having me. It was great. It was very good to see you.
I miss you.
And I'm happy for you. I hope, it's great what you're doing.
Thanks, Coach.
Keep doing it.
Thank you. So we hope you at home or in your car, wherever you are, enjoyed the Good News Is podcast today. And I hope you enjoyed hearing Coach Ron speak from his heart and that you feel inspired by his story. My hope is that it'll fill some void in your heart and that hopefully you're thinking of someone in your life right this second who could really stand to hear Ron's message too. We are surrounded by good news, but sometimes it's difficult to see. Sometimes we just need a new perspective, and sometimes we need a pal to help us get there. And maybe that someone is you. You should follow the Chelsea Greyhounds on Instagram. They're at Chelsea Greyhounds. You can also follow Ron at Ron Gialdo, or he and Chris's incredible floral design company at the Color Magic _NYC for jaw-dropping floral art installations. If you happen to live in the New York City area and you have an interested athlete on your hands, let this be your sign and your push to visit chelseagreyhounds.org. If you don't follow me, you can look me up at the Good News Is podcast on Instagram or Free Range Mama on Instagram. Also, the Good News Is podcast has an official website just now. We just finished it this week, so you can check that out at lindsaystewart.com. There will even be merch soon if you'd like to help support this podcast and my efforts in spreading good news and helping people to see the good news in their lives. If you enjoyed your time with us today on the Good News Is podcast, we'd love if you could subscribe, rate with 5 stars, and leave a review. Or if you have ideas of questions or topics, you can send us a DM on Instagram or via the new site. Thank you for clicking in to the Good News Is podcast. I'm not in the arm twisting business, but I am rooting for you. We could all use a positive nudge, a friendly hug, or a pat on the back, and we all need more good news. I can promise you that. Thank you for being here and for listening, and have a beautiful day. Thanks, Coach.
It was so great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.